All right, Paul, how are things, my friend?
Good in Key West, nothing to complain about.
Sitting on a rum barrel, first legal rum distillery. Go into the name first. I think that's got some good story behind it, history behind it. Key West, the rum scene, the whole nine.
So,
And
yep,
you
it's
walk
okay.
through, you're good.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
We're good.
So Key West First Legal Rum. I think we have the longest business name in all of Florida, but it states something. We had to call it out. There's never been a legal distillery anywhere, ever, down here, Monroe County, ever, before us. Now, there was plenty of illegal, but all the sugar cane was in Cuba. So that's really where all the rum was made. So they got it to us. We're rum runners. I love saying that I'm a rum runner. And I can say it because I sailed over in, was it 2016 when we were allowed to go over? And I took 25 cases of rum to Cuba, pulled in, we sailed into port. I want to declare this. The guy's like, what are you bringing rum to Cuba for? We make the best rum in the world. I'm like, I know. This is for me. You inspired me. I want to say thank you. He's like, well, how are you going to say thank you? I said, I want to buy everybody on the island a drink. He said, you really want to import this? I said, yeah, I want you to stamp my passport, entering by sailboat, because they're allowed to actually stamp your passport, and I want a declaration. I said, how long have you been here? He said, 38 years. You ever seen anybody bring rum into Cuba? He said, you're the first one ever.
You're the
and
craziest.
I was like, rum runner. I was like, I'm a rum runner. And actually, he said, people call it an aha moment. I call it a stupid moment. In Delco, we got that,
That honesty.
Yeah.
The honesty.
And I was like, he's like, your name's Paul Menta? Menta. And we're talking in Spanish. Menta, mint. Your mojito must be incredible. And I swear to you, I turned to my wife and I was like, shit. He went, what? And I said, got to be honest, man. I never thought about that. And my mojito sucks, even with my rum. And he's like, we're going to teach you. I'm going to send you around. I'm like, yeah, okay, right. This guy had juice, man. He got me into La Bogadita del Medio, which is where Hemingway's recipe, that's who made his, mojito, which was, dude, old school dive bar, but they're making 40 at a time. Nobody's allowed behind the bar, ever. I think they had somebody like Cary Grant. I don't know. They just were like, so they took me behind this guy said, I want him behind the bar and you show him. They took my rum, which is like, you're stepping on some major territory there, and taught me how to make it. People were coming up making me sign napkins. They thought I was like somebody famous. I'm like, no, I'm like just this dude from Philly. And I said, if you knew who I really was, you'd just wipe your nose with the, But that's how things work, man. It's just cool. This is the journey of this, of doing this, taking the biggest risk in my life. Dude, I cooked for 30 years, I grew up in Philly as a mechanic. Didn't like school. Second uncles, had a quarry. All hauling rock, would wake me up at like 4:30 in the morning to go haul rock. I decided school was probably a little more important because it sucked. And then, worked as a mechanic, but you had to do it during the daytime, and that's what my dad did. And I learned to be a really good mechanic, but man, my dad got me water skiing at 5 years old. And I started going to Jersey, and you learn how to surf, and down in Maryland, we're like jumping ramps and doing crazy shit. And this was where I was destined to be.
Yeah. This is a match year for you, for sure. I go around town and bring you up. It's like, oh, Paul's Key West. But I think it's too because, of course, the chef part, this place, people don't realize about Key West, they just think party. But really, it's like great food. The community's super strong and philanthropic. That's another thing. Even if they're raising money through booze, it's philanthropic.
Yep.
And then your connection with the booze business. I think one of the coolest stories, is your relationship with Jim Cantori during hurricanes making rum. I think that's a really cool story.
Jim's a good friend, and I'll call him up, and he's nuts, man. He don't give a shit. He's, it's 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, Jim, is it time? He's like, relax. And then he's like, 2:45, go. Where's your pressure at? Now it's coming over you. Go, and is so into it.
Hurricane.
So everybody's boarding up and freaking out. Of course, for me, that means the pressure is going to drop. So when the pressure drops like that, my copper stills think about them becoming super tight. So my vapor, which is, you basically boil these washes that are around here, these fermentations we make that's bubbling around. We boil those until the alcohol boils at 174. And I wait for my vapor temperature to get to a certain point, call it the sweet spot. But when the hurricane hits and drops the pressure so low, I can get to that vapor spot quicker because I get more temperature because of this dropping of pressure. I'm at 0 sea level. So all of a sudden I get these flavors like pear. It's in my yeast strain. I get black truffle. I mean, it comes predominant. Like, I could spend 180 grand and make this a vacuum sealed room and then do it all the time. But like, I just don't happen to have that right now. So, and it just makes it fun, man, because I've had some real failures with it. When Jim first came here and we did a whole story on the Weather Channel, there wasn't another hurricane for 4 years. Like we were waiting.
You're banking on a hurricane.
Banking again because Jim shows up, right?
You're the only person banking on a hurricane. And when Jim shows up, it's bad.
Yeah, everybody's like, it's funny. He comes down here during the wintertime, and me and him will just go out to eat and everything. And they'll be like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, because normally you see Jim, and they all think. But I think this year he's going to be a meteorologist for like 40 years. Like, passionate guy. Loves food, loves rum, loves all that kind of stuff. Tequila drinker. Yeah. I made some tequila. He's got and spends a lot of time and does a lot of good stuff, man. So people, it's funny, you see on TV, and of course they stick him out in the worst condition possible. But I mean, he's a pretty mellow guy, man.
All right, so salt cured barrels. Talk about that too. Really cool stuff. All on Paul's social media. Paul's out there dipping barrels right here at the end of the street. I mean, you're not going that far, but how'd that idea come up, and then what's that produced?
Well, most people don't have an ocean, so I wanted to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Traditionally, they fill the barrels with salt or fresh water. Okay, remember, my company's called Chef Distill. So I'm always looking at it as a mind through a cook. And I'm like, wait a minute, if I took a steak and put it in a pot of water and put it in the refrigerator overnight, and the next day took it out, drained the water out, put it on the grill, the water enzymes are going to eat all the flavor. Maybe the center would be good. I'm like, so why are they putting water? Did I say it right correctly?
No,
water. Yeah, but I'm going to say water, dude. And they put it in there, and the wood absorbs all that fresh water in it. So I'm like, man, this is going to take like 8 months for it even to penetrate the flavors in the wood, the vanillas, the figs, all these type of stuff. So I'm like, why wouldn't we just dry them out? So I took them down to the ocean. I will tell you, I went to a big convention because I didn't know crapola. And I was like, hey, man, anybody got a question? Yeah, I got a question. Yeah, I want to put my barrels in salt water and swell them so they don't leak, and then I'm going to dry them out. I'm going to cure them. And they're like, I wouldn't hurt anybody or anything with that, right? There's nothing. The guy's like, what? No, we don't do that. You do it with the water and everything. Next question. So we get to the very end, and they're doing a Q&A. Does anybody else got a question? And I go up, the guy hands me the mic. I said, hey. And he's like, just looks at me like, and I'm like, listen, man, I think it's a really good idea, from a chef's perspective, blah, blah, blah. He's like, son, I don't want to call you an idiot. And everybody had a big laugh and, but you're making me blah, blah, blah. And I just went, okay, cool. I laughed about it. We actually put our first marketing out. It said, idiot or genius. What idiot put a chef in charge of a distillery? Made fun of ourselves. Well, 10 years later, we got copyright on this. We've won gold, double gold awards before it. We're using organic chemistry. So the ocean, when it puts that salt in there and it sucks it in, swells up the barrel, when we empty the salt water out, now all that salt dries on there. So think of if you've ever had a piece of beef jerky or cured salmon. How strong is the flavor compared to regular beef? Well, it's super strong because all the fresh water is absent. So I'm doing the same thing inside the barrels. Then I put a really clean high proof in there. And now it's sucking all that up, in 2 years. We got a gold in the one thing, and it was I think a 5 or 7 year category. It was 2 years old.
Wow.
I don't tell them that. I don't put ages on mine. When it's ready, it's ready. But the thing is, if I told people 100 years ago, hey, add salt to these barrels, bring it out. When you're done, the barrel's going to make the rum super acidic. It's going to seem like it burns. Use some carbonated salts and adjust the pH level. But people don't think like that because I'm thinking from the mind of a cook. Distilling is very matter of fact. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just
I like baking.
But the baking's a bitch, man.
Yeah,
like
so
if you're a chef and you can bake as well, like you're on it, man, because you hire a pastry chef because that stuff is hard.
It's very similar to that, right? Like I'm a novice cook, but when I cook, I'm not a baker. I'm not measuring stuff. We're having fun with it. It's creative. I'll make something wrong, but we're gonna find a way to make it right and add some salt, flavor to get it back. But that's what you're doing here.
It's all chemistry. Cooking's chemistry, this is chemistry. So all I'm doing is using natural things. Like I'm not putting things in there because, I've never understood this concept. Like you're gonna put like all these preservatives and all these ingredients. You're not gonna take out these oils that are created naturally and buy the still that are gonna give you a hangover. And you're gonna put all this stuff in there and people are gonna maybe have a big night and but they're not gonna say your name the next day and they're never gonna hear Key West Legal Rum again. Like the idea is I want you to buy something, enjoy it, and then tell your friends about it. And like marketing 101, like keep your brand popular, not like, oh my God, Key West, don't say Key West Legal Rum,
Yeah,
so
you're hangover proof.
Yeah, so I tell people, hey, you buy a bottle, you drink, you get a hangover from our stuff and everything. Then bring the bottle back, I'll give you your money back. 10 years, 4 months old right now. I've had 2 people come in and challenge me on it. They're both 21 or 22. I got to explain what alcohol poisoning is.
Rookie.
Yeah, and it was like, come on, man. Yeah. So, so it's a good thing, man. It's just, in this island, to make something unique on this island, that's what makes it special. What's the best rum in the world? I don't ever believe there is one. You go somewhere, I use local cane sugar from Florida, my ocean, everything done here, so I can only make it here. Yep. So you're getting something individualized. Forget about best, man. I mean, everybody's always wanting to only be the best. How about just being really good quality, give somebody something that represents your place in your island, that you're proud to kind of put out there. And I really am, man.
It's a taste of Key West. It's local, right? It's humid in here. We're sweating. Like, that's cool. Like, it's like you have tours in here and there's like 5-gallon buckets. Like, this is active.
Yeah, we spilled, we had water go on the other day and we the hose broke off and we got some lady's feet got wet.
Perfect.
We're just dude, we're the blue collar place, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, come on, let's go where we grew up in Delco
Philly.
and in Philly and stuff like that. Listen, we're off the boat, our generations of families, workers, blue collar, man. You're not going to come in here and find the stills are really super shiny or everything's looking perfect. There's going to be water and shit and hose and breaking everything because we're working, man.
And that's Key West, though.
Yeah.
I think when you go to these bars and restaurants and you get in this community down here, right? It has that edge to it, of welcoming edge, but it has that edge to it of a local flair. And everybody, if you're a true tourist, to me, which I've been coming here for 30 years. I just turned 30, but I've been literally coming here since I was a couple months old. My parents have been coming for 40 years down here since my uncle was stationed flying F-18s up at Boca Chica right as he got out of the Navy base. So the old stories of the oyster shells were the road between Fly Navy and the Half Shell Raw Bar. And that's Key West though. You could do tour stuff off a cruise ship, come in, come out. But the best part about this, I don't believe that people appreciate Key West till their 3rd or 4th trip down here. Nowhere to go. No, truly be
it is hard.
I love this place because you would know, all right, I'm going to go to these 3 bars and restaurants. I'm going to come here for the tour. I'm going to get the pina colada to start my day. I'm going to go to, I like Pepe's for happy hour. Right? You got to know how to navigate, and you know how to navigate. The one thing too that I think is really cool to touch on is your relationship kind of with the Jimmy Buffett situation that you put on September 1st. Obviously, just recently passed away, and with your community leadership ability, driving what you did, just talk about kind of that day and the Jimmy Buffett effect on this island and what the future looks like.
I mean, look, the Jimmy thing, the Jimmy Buffett effect he didn't make the island famous. The island's always been like this for 200 years. Yep. He lived here and got to feel that and experience it and lived and really got into it and wrote about it. And then he took it out in here, and then he took it to up in Florida and made it famous, and then took it on the East Coast and made it famous, and then maybe he took it out to a couple billion people and started talking about this lifestyle that he lived. So we call him for the Concrete Republic down here, we call him our native son of the Concrete Republic, or favorite son of the Concrete Republic. When he passed, the story's weird. So just before that, just to give you some insight, Jimmy was coming here to play, second wind tour. Jimmy's getting up there and wants to kick off his tour here at the amphitheater.
That was in February. I was there.
Yeah, so we're all like kind of psyched about that as locals. We hear this is going on. Great. Listen, I've seen Jimmy at Margaritaville. I've seen him in some smaller locations in the late 80s, early 90s, like knew him, knew his kids, paddleboard. Yeah, paddleboard with, the whole kind of thing. There's always been those instances, and sick of hearing Margaritaville and sick of hearing it. But I'm in France and they're playing Margaritaville. I smile and go, hey, I'm from Key West. So even though you think you're tired. So anyway, Jimmy comes down. They make the announcement. Boom, the amphitheater. Boom, the robots grab the tickets. Bam, it's $1,000 a ticket. And we're all like, as locals, like, you're shitting me, man. Like, we got to pay in our amphitheater $1,000 to see somebody who, like, we supported, who started out down here. So, like I do what you do, I went on the internet and I was a bit of a dick, and I called Jimmy out and said, man, you forgot about us. You forgot about the locals, blah, 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 like really made a big thing, and it really took off. And it was steaming. People were mad. I get this phone call. Yeah, who's this? Is this Paul? Yeah. Listen, Bubba, chill. And then Kelly over at the theater, hey, so here's what's going to happen. You're not allowed to say anything. In 8 hours, we're going to announce that I'm going to play 2 shows at the Key West Theater.
Is it Jimmy calling you?
The Key West Theater, 2 shows. And no, somebody of his group, not him. But they're like, he's heard about, like, you need to relax, calm down, like, chill your roll here. You're really getting people pissed off. Yeah. And we're gonna do this. We're gonna do 2 shows. Only like 180 seats there, I think. You have to have a local ID. You have to stand in line. You get a paper ticket. Live Nation's like losing their shit because they don't do paper tickets and all this stuff. So anyway, I show up while everybody's waiting in line. I bring a ton of rum cakes, cut them up into pieces. I'm giving them bottles of water out. I publicly apologize to Jimmy Buffett and say I was wrong. And by the end of it, I'm like, listen, man, somebody was asking me something. I said, you're making locals feel important again, man. We need that. We need that because this island has been bought and it's gotten expensive, and as locals, man, we want to feel important. So.
And it's pushing locals too to add on that. Hold on, Luke, we need a restart. We're good. It's pushing locals up the Keys too.
Yeah.
It's hard to live in Key West now. It's hard to do business in Key West now. It's hard to find work in Key West now. So I wanted to add that. I wanted to add that because people think, oh, it's Key West. It's this big place. Oh, it's 2 miles by whatever, a couple mile island. And it keeps pushing you farther and farther up the Keys and more populated. Then that becomes, it's like a version of gentrification in a way, right?
It is.
Yeah.
So everybody's got their tickets. They're standing there. Kelly Norman's sitting over there at the theater, and she's like, well, it's going to be a great show. I said, yeah, I hope everybody enjoys it. She goes, what do you mean, you didn't get your tickets? I said, I wasn't taking tickets for people in line after what I said, and I wanted to make sure everybody got their tickets. Oh, no, you and your wife are coming. You're going to be a guest of ours, the owners, Jimmy, and everything. Matter of fact, do you want to put your rum bottles on every table for all the locals and everything? And I was like, really? Yeah. So we go in and we figure we're going to be sitting over in the corner, like, boom, man. We're like right up front. He just comes walking out. There's no intro. He just comes walking out, smiling. And how's all this working out for you, Bubba? Got a little rum in here now, huh? And then just starts telling stories. Me and my wife had such an experience that night. It was the best thing. He said, the first set's for me. It's been 40 some odd years. They don't let me play albums. I'm playing White Sports Coat and playing Crustacean, and this first set's for me because I never get to play an album. And I'm going to play my whole entire album. The band's been giving me crap about it. We're going to do it. Second set's for you guys. So we sit through this experience. He was like glowing, dude. He was like glowing. So we leave, and I said to my wife, I think we just saw something. And I was like, man, I feel so good about it. And everybody was like, high-fiving like locals. Like, he gives a shit about us, man. We count. Like, as Key West people, we count. In between all that, in between the shows, he's going up and flying each day, like in Boston, man, and get treatment. He knows he's sick. He knows he's dying. Like, we don't know this. And I'm telling you, the guy was on, like, he was floating on a cloud, man. He left his legacy on that stage that night. It was incredible, man. So back to the parade, I get a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning from somebody I know very close to the family that just said, hey, man, Jimmy just passed. I said, what? 3 hours ago, Friday night he passed. Nah, seriously, dude, like, we're there. It's over. He's dead. Holy shit, you know? And I'm like, so I go on Facebook. I don't know why. I just write, he did what he loved. He played music and made people happy. And at the end of the day, you do what you love and express your passion like he did and always smiled. That's how I want to live my life. And I said, thank you very much, Jimmy Buffett. And all of a sudden, like, I got news media calling me. I got Florida Keys people calling me. Hey, what do you mean, Jimmy? No, it's a scam. I'm like, trust me, man, he's dead. And all of a sudden, it's breaking out. So by 4 a.m., everybody's like, what's Key West going to do? Because Europe's woke up. Everybody's looking at Key West to do something. I'm like, man, I felt like what he did for us as locals, what he did for this place as a town through his life, I'm like, we owe him something. Fuck it, let's just do a parade. We'll do a parade. And I'm like calling, and Jordan, that does some stuff down here with Spotswoods and Marriott's and all their places. I'm like, he's like, is there anything I can do? I'm like, yeah, can you make me a graphic? Because I want to do a parade. So I sent a text to the city manager at like 5 a.m. Hey, when you get this, you know, give me a, he like responds back to me. He's only a city manager now for 3 months. Hey, Paul, what's going on? What do you want to do? What's going on? Hey, Jimmy Buffett died. Oh, shit, really? Oh, I want to do a parade. When? Tomorrow. What? Yeah, I know I can't pull a permit, but blah, blah. So he's like, let me call you back. I guess he talked to the mayor, city commissioners. I said, no, I'll put my rep on the line. They all vouched for me. He's like, you know what, Paul, I'm going to let you do it. They said, if anybody can do it, you can do it. But man, like, do not turn this into a circus. You're going to need, the city can't just pull this stuff off and pay for it. You're going to need to pay for it yourself. So I'm like, and I want this to be clear. My rum distillery paid $0. This was all out of my pocket. This goes beyond rum, cooking, and everything else. This was me wanting to say thank you, Jimmy Buffett, to his family and everything.
So we'll go thank you. You could say thank you, Jimmy Buffett again. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. That's why I wanted to pause it before, because I know we were going to go. So.
And I just wanted to say thank you, Jimmy Buffett, and do something for his family. You know, this thing I always say, death is hard on the living that are left behind, not on the person that died. So it's the family that suffers. And I wanted to show something to show the appreciation. So, man, we went for it, threw it out on social media. We're having a parade, show up by the chart room at Front and Duval. You know, Al's like, how many people you think you're going to have? I said, I think we're going to have like maybe 500, 800 people, 900 maybe, and everything. All right, I want you to talk to Sean. Chief Police calls me. Paul, whatever you need. I'll lead the front of the parade. We'll make sure it's all. I said, I just want everything to be safe. We get down there, brought a bullhorn with me, figuring we could just make some announcements. Howard Livingston came. He could be up in the front, figured we could have some music. He'd play with Jimmy a bunch. And all of a sudden, it's like, you know, some people I'm talking with, like, I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's like maybe about 50 people here. And then it just starts swelling and everything and growing. And I'm like, holy crap, man. And I said, I want to call it, it's 5 o'clock in Key West. Because it's always 5 o'clock somewhere. Yep. But 5 o'clock and that whole thing started here in Key West. And I'm like, for once in our life, right now it's 5 o'clock in Key West. We'll throw it up, put it, my wife was doing the live broadcast. 1.5 million views. Wow. My wife, I said, hey, how's it feel to be a professional cameraman? Get your credits. Maybe you get a little nomination for something. Here, not for long. I'm like, but she went around and just talked to people. And what I did was with the bullhorn, I said, right before we got ready to make a toast to him at 5 o'clock, I said, in Jimmy's honor, not to disrespect his name, do not throw any trash on the ground. As a matter of fact, if you see trash, pick it up. Let's be the cleanest parade in the entire world. This is a second line. We're not here to mourn. We're here to celebrate his life. Dude, people were picking up trash. There was nothing. I walked that parade route after I was done. We did CNN after they were over because they were just so blown away by it. And the guys come back with the drone footage, and they're like, hey, we put the drone in the AI. 8,326 people that we saw on the main part of the street. I was like, holy crap. But it was a shot around the world, man. I had people interviewing me from all over. Why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? To say thank you. And you know what? That's what, when you said about Key West down here, that's what people don't get.
They don't have no idea.
We're appreciative.
Yes.
Every day here is survival.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the Key West Film Festival giving a presentation, giving an award for Best Florida Documentary or something. And Tom again had shown Jimmy Buffett's movie the night before, the documentary they did at San Carlos. And right at the end of the movie, the lights went out, power goes down. And they're all sitting there. Everybody just saw the movie. They're like, oh, well. And the first time I ever saw a use for this idiotic piece of stuff that gets us in trouble so much, everybody turned on their phone's flashlight, aimed it at the stage, and Tom again did a question and answer about Jimmy Buffett. In the dark, no speakers or anything. And I'm like, welcome, you're all now locals. Because in Key West, every day is like a hurricane. We survive, man. And they don't get that our appreciation goes so far to the tourists, to the people that work here, to, you know, just all of it, man. And I think that's something that's misunderstood about Key West. Yeah, you might catch us on a bad day because 60,000 people showed up on an island that's 4 miles long by 1.5 miles wide, and we got our ass handed to us today. And maybe we're on a double shift and a little bit.
3 weeks.
Yeah, and everything. So we're not perfect, man. No. But we appreciate people, man. Like we know they're spending their money to come here on vacation, and that's a big deal, and that's an important job that you can make somebody have a great vacation or a bad one. Yep. So I mean,
and there's a lot of people too that are, you know, people find Key West in different ways. I want to hear how you found it in a little bit, but people find Key West by coming down on spring break and then saying, oh shit, dropping out of school, getting their stuff and moving down and figuring it out. They're bartenders, they're servers, they become teachers down here. Some people are conks for, you know, forever, and they've been here forever. So it's a good mix of those people that were on vacation, that now live down here, that make this a home, that make this a community. So it makes it's like not the land of the misfit toys, but like they say with the weird, where the weird goes pro.
It is.
And it's a bunch of really good people. How'd you find Key West?
It is because I was that misfit toy. Yeah. In Philly, like, you know, I wasn't invited back to public school, we'll just say. And, you know, I'm living down in South Florida, whatever. And, you know, when it's not spring or summer and I'm down in the ocean or jumping and doing all this shit, getting in trouble. And I'm fighting.
Yeah.
You know, whatever, young kids, stupid, hothead and everything. So back then they're like, well, you could just quit school. But I was too young. So they sent me to a Quaker school. So I'm like, wait a minute. You're sending me to a non-violent school. Like I fight people. I work at my dad's gas station, man, the overnight shift. Like, I mean, I'm a young kid having to get into fights because people are trying to rob. I'm like, really? Those people changed my life. And the one way they changed my life was they told me, you love I'm going to show you what you love to do. They brought me to Key West. So I go in there, and it's when that law was changing from like 18 to 21, but if you're under you made it a certain deadline, blah, blah, blah. So I go into Green Parrot, they're doing their thing, and I go, what do you want, kid? Can I have a beer? How old are you? It's like, shit, I just went, I'm 17. You get one for not being a liar, right? I mean, that's how Key West was here in the 80s and stuff like that. So, I mean, granted, you do that. I don't condone that. You know, I don't want anybody.
We don't allow it here at Key West First.
Yeah, underage. Listen, I mean, I condone in this. I have a distillery, and I condone moderation. Yeah. You know, this can be a really wonderful thing to celebrate with, and you can get in a lot of trouble with this shit. So, you know, they taught me to hold my breath and free. I went to go free dive the first time. My head almost exploded at like 5 feet. Like, my ears.
Clear your nose.
You know, and everything. Because from surfing, you just go down and gargle up some water, and it would come out. And when I learned how to do that, and I saw what this is all about, dude, it was like graduation. I'm here. And you get here around all these misfit toys, we'll call them. I'll call them weirdos, because in Philly I was weird. But when you get about a bunch of weirdos, they encourage your creativity. They don't see it as weird, so you become more creative. So this island, my teachers, and then this island have molded me into the person that I am today here in Key West. I owe it all to my teachers and to this island for what it's done for me. So how could I not constantly want to give back? Like, people are, oh, you're always doing it's amazing, and I appreciate the accolades, but how could I not want to give back?
People should give back more. I think we just did a football camp down here. It's easy to do. Little organization, you get some people buying in. Like,
yep.
I'm not saying it's easy. That's a bad word, but it's very doable for successful individuals, not to just take care of themselves.
Everybody just does a little. You do your own little thing, and you put all that in the bucket, and it adds up to something big. Dude, conch baseball down here.
Huge.
Like, massive, man. Massive. I go to the games, and it's insane. It's like being at a pro game.
I can't wait to go. I was bummed. We did the camp down here this Saturday. And of course, it was opening day of Little League Baseball. So our numbers weren't as big as last year. We still had 80 kids and fed them and had a great camp. But
that's awesome.
I'm going to get to my first conch game down here. So let's walk around, check some things out. Appreciate you, man.
And remember, I got a little treat for you.
That
I want you to try, because since we're in the land of tourism and things, I want to show you something that I just did.
All right, cool.
And, let's have a little try.